Hello, I'm Brad Sherman. Hello, I'm Brad Sherman from America's best named city, Sherman Oaks. First, I do have to disclose something. I am personally not a member of a credit union. I'm a member of 2 credit unions, one on each coast. I'm thrilled to once again be in a large room of financial executives knowing that not a single one of you received a bailout from the TARP program. None of you is too big to fail, and as we saw with Wells Fargo, none of you is too big to manage. I want to thank CUNA for its advocacy for member-owned, nonprofit financial institutions that serve our communities around California and around the nation. And I want to recognize, of course, Jim Nussel, Ryan Donovan, who used to work for me and who I've now forgiven you for stealing, and Jeremy Impol, who represents the California credit unions on federal issues and is working the Hill right now and also used to work for me. And as I said to Ryan often, you don't stop working for me, I just stop paying you. Now, when it comes to data security, I co-sponsored the Data Security Act, which passed our committee by a vote of 46-9. We need now to get that bill through our committee again and through the House and the Senate, because it's time to impose on those retailers and others who are holding the data the same kind of standards that apply to you. And if you look at economic theory, you'll see that it makes sense to put the cost of breach for security breaches on those who are in best position to prevent the security breach, namely those who are holding the data. That's working with Carolyn Maloney and Blaine Lukemeyer to put forward a bill this year. When it comes to mortgage lending, reflect on this. When in history has an ordinary working family been able to borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars, 30 years fixed? That is something our current system provides through a government guarantee, and that is why I'm not going to go down the path to nowhere. When it comes to website availability and the Americans with Disabilities Act, I join with 61 of my colleagues in trying to get the Department of Justice to give you good guidance. That when it comes to alternative capital, I've been a strong proponent in leading the charge along with Congressman Peter King of New York in introducing the Capital Access for Small Business and Jobs Act. Keep in mind that to the giant institutions, they came and they said they wanted government capital. The systems work best when its institutions are well capitalized. The credit unions are not asking for government capital. They're simply asking government to get out of the way so that those credit unions that want to can have the alternative capital, which then provides an additional cushion in the financial system. When it comes to member business lending, the economic reports are clear. If we can liberalize the rules, that will provide $16 billion of capital to small business and 150,000 jobs. That's why I support the recent change in member business lending rules from NCUA, and I look forward to changing the rules with regard to small apartment buildings 1 to 4 with the Credit Union Residential Parity Act, so that these do not count against the member business loans that you're allowed to make. And I would urge you to make those member business loans in the 30th Congressional District of California. We survived the tax bill. Credit unions remain member-owned, tax-exempt organizations. And Senator Hatch can issue a press release, but you will remain member-owned, tax-exempt organizations. When it comes to the CFPB, my advice is if you want to abolish the CFPB, talk to a Republican. If you want to influence the CFPB, talk to a Democrat. And I have used all of my sway there to try to get them to understand, sometimes they do, that when you're writing a regulation and your mind is somehow this regulation is going to apply to a $100 billion, $400, $500 billion institution, that you then have to write a different part of the regulation applicable to small and medium-sized institutions. I don't often praise anything done by the Trump administration. That isn't what I'm known for. But I do commend them for officially ending Operation Choke Point, which was an effort directed at both banks and I hadn't heard it being directed to credit unions, where regulators were trying to get them to not provide services to certain disfavored businesses. And this had arisen under the Obama administration. I had to remind my Democratic colleagues that those who are disfavored by one administration or one group, but then there'd be a change administrations. And what would it be like if we were told that there was a reputational risk if you provided financial services to Planned Parenthood or Sierra Club? So I began this effort in 2013. Not many in my own party agreed with me. We are now successful, and they have officially withdrawn any effort to discourage doing business with legal businesses in our country. I now look forward to a change in national policy so I don't see giant bags of cash in my own district. I usually like giant bags of cash, but not at marijuana dispensaries where they're an invitation to armed robbery. It's time for those businesses that are legal in Colorado, California, and elsewhere to be able to get financial services. In 2010, I joined with 130 of my colleagues expressing skepticism about the Durbin Amendment when it came to interchange fees. History has proven us right. The Durbin Amendment has made it tougher for those who want credit cards, and but it has not resulted in lower prices from realtors. That's why we need to repeal the Durbin Amendment. There is a system called PACE lending where you get a special loan that is called part of your property tax bill to finance home improvements that help energy efficiency. I'm all for energy efficiency, but have been working with others, and I'm pleased to see that the bipartisan Senate bill says that these loans will be subject to underwriting standards. Privacy notifications cut down a lot of trees to send out on paper privacy policies that hadn't changed. We don't need to do that. That's why I joined with Representative Luca Meyer with the Eliminate Privacy Notification Confusion Act, which we were able to get into law as part of a large bill. And no tree has actually thanked me for this, but it is clearly sending out the policy that you had already sent out a year ago on paper was a waste of your resources. So I know that you will have some battles, and you should recognize that the other side may have more money, you may think more power. But what matters here in Washington is whether or not you relate to voters. You will go around in the next 2 days. You won't see many of my colleagues. We changed the House schedule. We're not here. Some of us will be here. You will see members posing for pictures with you and urging you to put those in your newsletter. And I expect to be in the newsletter of all the California or Southern California institutions that are here. What you may not realize is that whenever a giant bank asks me to pose for a picture so I can be in their newsletter, I'm just not available. People want to be identified. Members of Congress want to be identified with nonprofit, member-owned cooperative institutions, and I look forward to being identified with the credit unions for the rest of my career in Congress. Thank you very much.